TV round two. I am making something called vol au vent. Here's what it looks like. It's a French word that means flight of the wind, and it's essentially a puff pastry cup made with some filling. This is actually technically not a super long thing to make, but I have been chatting so much. The puff pastry is also a little tedious. So what this is, it is a puff pastry cup. You can make it sweet, you can make it savory. I'm making mine savory with shrimp and bacon. I've already cooked up my bacon, and now I've already done my puff pastry cups. I am preheating my oven to a high temperature, and now I'm going to show y'all how I will be poaching the shrimp. We're also going to saute some garlic, some shallot, and some pepper that's going to go inside the filling, make up that filling, and then we will serve that. So the vol au vent. My oven is at 400 degrees. We want this to be at a high temperature. Right now, my puff pastry circles are inside the refrigerator. You want it to be chilled at least 15 to 20 minutes before you cook with it, because the reason why puff pastry puffs is because of all the butter that's in there, and we need that butter to be super cold so that way it will steam. Before the butter melts, it will steam, and then it will create the air pockets that make it all nice and puffy. So the vol au vent, and it's totally something that you can do without a whole ton of experience. You can absolutely make, or you can purchase these cups just on their own, but it's a lot more fun to make your own. I had this little cookie cutter thing. Oftentimes with these vol au vents, they're going to be about like that big, but I kind of wanted more of a bite-sized version, and I had that option with these cookie cutters, and there is a link if you go to our tree where you can see that as well. So oven is still on the preheating way of that, and so let's work on poaching our shrimp. Now, if you missed with what I did with the shrimp earlier, I had made a brine that was really salty, and I also added a little bit of sugar in there to let some of that complexity of the shrimp come out. And now, oftentimes I would have already also poached with some of my brining liquid, but I dumped it out without even thinking about it because I was cleaning up. So let's go ahead. Now, this is a cold pan. I have not started this pan yet. This is the best way that you can poach shrimp. So what we're going to do, we're going to start with it cold. Actually, I want my poaching liquid to have as much flavor and aromatics as possible, so I will also be throwing in some onion. I don't have any chicken stock on hand, but I have the Better Than bouillon. See, we're all talking French over here, so. A little bit of flavor in there, and you can season it with whole spices, add cloves of garlic in there, whatever your heart desires. This is my spoon that I accidentally bent all up out of shape, and it's perfect for stuff like that. Love having a kettle. It just brings water to boiling very, very quickly. But I will want this to be cold liquid when I do this. So, making a bit of a concentrated. Oh, wow. My thing's not on, but I was cooking my bacon in here too. We're gonna add some cold water to this as well. I'm gonna chop up, I think like half an onion. Do I even want to bother with half an onion? I'm only doing 6 shrimp. If I was making this a shrimp cocktail, then I would absolutely do a lot more aromatics in here. But I'm not going to use an entire onion for 6 shrimp. Yes. So I just wanted the hot water to dissolve the bouillon, and then I'm going to be adding just the cold water, because when we are poaching the shrimp, we want it to do a cold start on this. A lot of recipes are going to have you already having your water simmered in here, but I want to do a cold start with this. So, cold start there. I'm going to add a little bit of white wine to this, people always ask me what kind of wine I like using. For me, it's just whatever dry white that you enjoy drinking, because if you don't like drinking it, you're not going to like cooking with it. We're doing it for the flavor. I kind of felt like I was kind of feeling like I was having a Giotto moment there with the whole speaking everything and, you know, just regular old English, except for when random French words come across. You know what I mean? Like where she'll just be talking normally and then out of nowhere her Italian accent comes out. But I'm not French. I just took exactly 1 semester of French in college. So I'm gonna chop that up. And in here, I'm gonna throw in a little parsley in here as well. I want this to be a cold start, remember y'all? I want this to be a cold start, so throwing in some ice cubes just to get out with that. So haven't even turned this on yet, and we are going to add the shrimp. Yes, we want to make sure it's covered. You can do this in large batches, so you can do this with a lot of shrimp. Definitely the best way to go about it when you are making shrimp cocktail. So we're doing a cold start here with this. Shells and tails still on because that's where the flavor is. Splashing everywhere. So now I feel comfortable getting my heat started. So we're gonna go at about a 4 on mine. So when we are wanting the shrimp to be cooked perfectly, it's gonna be difficult to temp out each shrimp to make sure it's perfectly done, because overcooked shrimp, it's just rubbery, it's weird, it's you don't want to overcook shrimp. And the way that you can tell that shrimp is overcooked is it will literally spell it out for you. Like if it's shaped like a C, it's cooked, but once it's shaped like an O, it's over. So the best way that we are going to be able to temp this is we are actually going to be temping our water. So once the water hits 140 degrees after we're doing the cold start with this, that's when the shrimp is going to be done perfectly, and we're going to throw it in an ice bath. Sound good? Sound good. Okay, cool. And so we are going to be waiting on that. Hello, and Kiki, thank you so much for the follow. Y'all, welcome in. Welcome in. So definitely don't want the overcooked shrimp, so we're going to keep an eye on that. But I do have to chop up some things that's going to go in with our filling as well, that we are going to be cooking with that bacon fat. Which, while I'm here, I do want to drain out some of this bacon fat. I'm only going to leave about a tablespoon in here, and we're just going to use this same pan. We can always add some more back in if needed. There we go. Might not be enough. I'll need to add some more for sure. So let's see what temperature our water is going to be. Well, right now the water temperature is 90 degrees. We're just going to keep an eye on that. Once it hits 140, we're good to release that. I'm going to try to get teeny tiny pieces in here. Ooh, my oven's preheated. Hooray! So we can get started on our little pastry cups, which is the whole reason we are here. So it's essentially puff pastry that I cut up little circles of. Some of them I loaded on top to kind of create a little rim. I did use a fork to pin the bottom of it so that way that wouldn't puff up so much, and then made a smaller cookie cutter in the hole of that to create little rims for that. And it's been in the fridge. You want this to chill at least 15-20 minutes because this dough needs to be super cold in the hot oven before, so that way we can make it pop. And then of course I kept the little circles that I cut out in there as well, little chef snacks. So we'll check on that in about 15-20 minutes. Some of the larger size ones will take 20. I've even seen some people make this as like a dinner plate size portion of it. So I imagine that would be a 30-40 minute ordeal there. Hey y'all, welcome in. Thank you for joining me today. We are making vol au vent. Where's my little... I'm so glad I printed this out because this would have been very difficult to like type in the comments and so y'all knew exactly what I was making. Deborah, thank you for coming in. Thank you for the follow. Y'all, if you are new to FoodtokTV, we do live cooking shows. Every single day, we have a variety of creators. Monday through Friday, we try to have 2 shows on a day. We usually do. Wednesdays, we just have Red Wagon Bakery. But on January 1st, we will be bringing out our new show on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Central. That will be Cooking with Mama T show will be on. And we're excited about that. So we're starting the new year with a new creator. So stoked about that. I'm trying to get these pieces as teeny tiny as I possibly can. Don't ever use the sharp part of your knife to like scrape on there. It makes a terrible sound and it also dulls your knife. Don't do it. Use this part of the end. There is. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate y'all. And yes, please be tapping those screens. It lets Al Gore and his rhythm know that I'm doing a pretty sweet job. See what I did there? Al Gore and his rhythm. Oh, you love to cook? Me too. What kind of things do you like cooking? Actually, everyone can let me know what your favorite thing to cook is. We do have some creators that do come from a professional cooking background, but most of us are just people who have spent time in the kitchen and have just experimented and played. For me, for the most part, I kind of spend more time on books and kind of learning the theory of certain things. Most of my food and beverage experience is as a bartender. I'm gonna try and get some of this white part out, but I'm just using these mini little sweet peppers. I love bell peppers, and that would be great for this too, but I often find at my grocery store it's usually $1.50 per bell pepper, and I don't have $1.50 just for one vegetable. What am I making? I am making vol au vent. It's a French word that means flight of the wind, and it is a puff pastry cup. You can make it sweet, you can make it savory. I'm going the savory route here. So I have my little puff pastry cups in the oven working right now. I shaped them where I did the little larger circle at the bottom and then made like little rimmer for it. And then the bottom circle of the puff pastry has some forks poked in there. And we are going to be making a filling for this. A lot of times the filling, especially in savory applications, a lot of time the filling is going to be a bechamel, which of course makes sense for like a French dish to use a bechamel or a mornay. It's typically bechamel, but I'm kind of cheating over here with cream cheese today. So let's check on the temperature of our shrimp. Because once this water hits 140 degrees, I'm poaching the shrimp right now. It's at 107, and rather than temping my shrimp, I'm just going to be temping the water because I did a cold start for my water. Definitely a good tip if you are making shrimp cocktail. And shrimp cocktail is a fairly easy thing to make and bring if you are doing that for the holidays. I always tell people that I like not all of the shapes or not all of the sizes of my cut vegetables being the same size, because you get some that are soft, some that are a bit more firm and crispy. I also like to call it rustic. But you know, when you look at a professional and how they cut, it's because, you know, some of the places that they've worked, they have, you know, had to cut 50 onions a day. At most, I think I've made French onion soup and cut 6 onions in one day, right? Like it's not an activity I typically do. Oftentimes too, if you are finding you're having an issue with whatever you're chopping moving around, I'll add a little bit of salt there to kind of keep that in place. But yeah, every time I cut stuff, it's a knife skill practice. Chopping is always therapeutic for me. I love that. It is. It's kind of a different story when people are watching you. Terry, thank you for the follow. I appreciate you. Oh yeah. So we got shallot and red bell pepper. We're going to cook that in some of the bacon fat from earlier. I'm going to wait until the shrimp is done before we get back to the sauteing and everything. Let's go ahead and get some garlic cloves. A lot of times what I will do, y'all, I just bought this garlic today. Oh, that's obnoxious. I need to go to a different grocery store just for garlic because the grocery store I go to almost never has beautiful garlic. It's very disappointing. But anyway, like typically whenever I use garlic, I oftentimes use a little food processor, like one of those mini food processors, and I'll process it and then I will put it in a bag and stick it in the freezer. Now, if you do this, one singular bag isn't going to keep out the garlic smell from everything else in your freezer. So that would be a double bagging situation or like in a glass container. Mystic, thank you for the chili. I appreciate you. Oh, that is a good point. Salt will pull out some of the flavors from that. But if you're going ahead and sauteing it and you're going to be adding a little bit of salt to it anyway. But yeah, no, that is something to consider as well. It's definitely helpful for chopping tomatoes as well. And for me, I always salt my tomatoes no matter what. Tomatoes just need salt. So tomatoes, that's a really good tip for. You know what? I did not even set my timer for my puff pastry. Crud. Whoops. But yeah, I typically have frozen garlic already processed. I'm not a fan of the jarred garlic, which if you are, that's totally fine. I am not a fan of it. So it's not even something I ever purchase. But if that's something you dig, I'm happy for you. I wish I could find enjoyment from garlic. So I'm not trying to take away your enjoyment. It for sure is easier, but I'm the type of person where I would much rather use garlic powder than I would the jarred garlic. So yeah, let me know in the comments how y'all feel about garlic. Oh, you know what? I need to go ahead and, oh, let's see what the temperature is like on. Okay, our temperature for our water is 127. We're looking for 140, and then the shrimp is going to be done. But I just remembered I'll get on my other phone and oh, hey, FoodtokTV is live. Who is that? Oh, that's me. But we have this subscriber emote on ours too. So, yep, that's me. If y'all are ever familiar with my content or anything like that, I just pinned myself up there. I am the Mustard Queen. I have been on TikTok for several years now. I've been creating content for several years. A lot of it is mustard based. A lot of it has to do with my years of bartending. I am a nerd for food science and I love learning new stuff about it. It's something I'm a huge fan of. I definitely don't get enough practice chopping garlic. I definitely always like to use my little mini processor before and just like stick it in the freezer. And it thaws super quickly. And I love using the frozen garlic pieces too in there because, you know, you don't want to keep the garlic. You want to put the garlic like one of the last things that you do, so that way, because if you overcook it, it will become bitter. And so I like being able to not have to worry so much about it if it's frozen. So basically I get 2 or 3 minutes rather than 1 minute in the pan. All right, let's keep the garlic separate. Oh, like how he cuts the garlic with the salt. I think I missed that on his show yesterday. Kunchi is one of our creators, and he goes on Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Central. I missed that. But yeah, that's typically like how you would mince garlic, is like with the salt and kind of like cutting it and then rubbing it. I have not seen the rooster comment. You can pick an egg yolk up with your fingers if you rub garlic on it first. Huh. I'm gonna have to try that next time. And Fallon, thank you so much for sharing the live. It really does let Al Gore and his rhythm know that we were doing an all right job. You can follow us, and you can also follow me on all the platforms. We're on FoodtokTV everywhere. And then for me, I am ketchupisgarbage everywhere, but you can honestly just do a search for Mustard Queen, and there I am. So let's see. Okay, I'm going to rotate these. Hey Babs, can you give me a 3-minute timer? I have had this microwave above my stovetop, and it has not worked the entire time we have lived here for about 12 years now. And so it's always been the thing that we use for a timer. But here lately, some of the buttons aren't working, and I attribute that for, you know, all the stuff that I cook and all the steam coming from stuff that's just going into the electrical work there. But so we're at 137, so we're really close for pulling our shrimp. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Thanks, Babs. I appreciate you. And so if you are just joining us, I am showing you the correct way to poach the shrimp. So before I poached it, I of course deveined it, but then I also did a wet brine. It only needs 15 minutes in this brine. I did about 2 or 3 cups of water, and it was several large tablespoons of some kosher salt. I did a little bit of hot water so that way it would dissolve first. I also did about a spoonful or 2 of sugar. The salt is going to really help plump up the shrimp. The sugar is going to bring out the complexity of the shrimp. Let that brine for about 15 minutes. And now I would have really liked to use some of the brine in my poaching liquid, but I dumped it without thinking about it. So in here, I started with a cold pan, had some chicken stock, some salty water, some parsley, some garlic, and then started off cold. You want to start off poaching shrimp when it's cold. A lot of recipes will tell you to already have the water simmering beforehand, but a cold start is definitely the way to go, because once the water temperature reaches to 140, that's when we know the shrimp is cooked perfectly. Ah, perfect. I have an ice bath right over here. Spider claw, spider claw. Oh yeah. Yay! It was like at 141, but the shrimp just looks absolutely perfect. The shrimp will spell it out for you. If it's still shaped like a C, then it's cooked. But once it starts looking like an O, it's overcooked. Literally tells you, hey, you overcooked me here. Oh yeah, that is perfectly cooked shrimp, yes. And so we are using this. I also threw in a bunch of aromatics in here. If I was doing a larger batch for like a shrimp cocktail, I also would have probably halved an onion and threw it in here as well. But I'm just doing 6 shrimp because I'm making a filling for my vol au vent. So we're gonna let that chill. And we'll come back to that when we are ready. So I'm gonna let that cool before tossing those aromatics away. There we go. So this is my pan earlier to where I toasted up some of the bacon. I drained out most of the fat, but I feel like it needs some of the fat back in. And we will go ahead and heat that up. 1 minute left. Okay, thank you. Just here to hang out to meet the girls. I love it. Time. Okay, cool. Let's check it out. Okay. So we're gonna let this cool. Hold up. So of course, whenever I baked these, the center top hats are going to be definitely more crispy than these parts here. I'm going to get a knife and get that out so that way we can make the filling on here. So I'm going to start transferring things. Got to figure out the best way to do that without burning myself. Which y'all, fun little cooking tip, burning yourself is not fun. Like and follow for more. Okay. Yeah, parchment paper would have been the way to go with this. I didn't have parchment paper, so we are going to see how nonstick some of these things are. This one was definitely not nonstick. I added a little bit of oil to that. I want these to cook just for another minute or so. Nice and crispy. I'm surprised by how non-stick this is. Cute little, oh, I love puff pastry so much. Puff pastry is very similar to pie crust, except it takes a lot more time to make it. So I definitely just used some puff pastry from the grocery store, already made. Very similar to pie crust in that there's a lot of butter in there, but you also have to laminate it, meaning you have to, you know, combine it and then roll it and then fold it and roll it again. Really impressed with this nonstick though. Cool. So yes, definitely not some of my neatest work. No magazine is going to be taking a picture of these. This part did puff up, but I'm going to cut it out. I'm going to let it hang out in the oven for just 1 more minute. I feel like these can just be slightly more golden. So we will go ahead and get started. I think I can use the 1, the 4. Yeah, the 1 and the 4 and the zeros are the numbers that work on this microwave. It's really only here to be my timer. And then also there's some food I fermented in here a while back and I've been ignoring it. So pan is heated up. Add our onion and our shallot and pepper. I wanted my pieces to be super bite-sized. Now you can make whatever you want in your filling. It's a very adaptable recipe to whatever you wanted. Some other thoughts I had, I was also thinking about doing a shrimp and artichoke kind of situation with that. You can definitely make it sweet as well. Oh, there we go. I'll check on that in a second. I just have to chop this shallot. There's always a few stragglers for me that just did not want to be chopped properly. Ah, yes. And this is in the same pan where I did the bacon in here. So we're going to have the poached shrimp. We're also going to have this shallot, pepper, and the bacon. Okay. Babs, can you do a 2-minute timer, please? These puff pastries, of course, because it was a smaller one, like these got cooked a bit. Ooh, yeah. They may have gotten a little overcooked too, but it's okay. These are my chef snack. But see how like much they puffed up? Like look at all that puff. And that's because we let the dough chill inside the refrigerator. They get chilled for like 30 minutes or something. So that way the dough is super cold in a high temperature oven. So the butter that's in here will steam and puff. Mmm. Super flaky. You can also toss like the little discards from the puff pastry that we were using. You can also toss them with oil and some seasoning, like some everything bagel seasoning would have been really good, like a cinnamon sugar type of snack too. And I just stored the rest of my puff pastry in a Ziploc bag in the fridge because I'm definitely going to use it for another activity. So I did have scraps, but I'm just going to roll it out, cut it into something. Not sure what. Stone Mama, thank you for the follow. And Chet Warnick, thank you for sharing the live, helping Al Gore with his rhythm. Super cereal. Oh, this smells amazing. The shallot and the pepper. Chef kiss. I love the sweet little red peppers that I used in here. I often get like a bag of those for $4, and that's kind of my replacement for bell pepper. Okay, here we go. We are gonna let these cool before we mess with them. I'm gonna get a paring knife and kind of cut out the center of that. Woo. Hot, hot, hot. There we go. We're just wanting to soften these and get all that like bacony flavor in there. And I did do an egg wash with these as well. Some of these got extra egg washed, but I put a little bit of whole grain mustard in with my egg wash. Typically whenever I'm doing any sort of cooking that requires egg wash or dredging with, like if I'm dredging and battering and frying, I will always put a little bit of mustard or hot sauce or something, some sort of condiment into my egg because free flavor. Free flavor. So we're gonna turn off the oven. Thank you so much, Babs. Thank you. Yes. I appreciate having Babs being our official timer in FoodtokTV. A lot of our cooks on FoodtokTV love it when Babs in here because they're like, oh cool, I don't have to set a timer, Babs will do it for me. Oh yes. Oh, love the smell of this. Oftentimes with a vol au vent, which is what I'm making, the vol au vent, oftentimes you will see people making a bechamel, which is basically a white sauce that's made with a roux. You start out with a flour roux, flour and butter, and some sort of dairy to make a white sauce. I'm just going with the cream cheese. I have spent a lot of time just talking about how to poach shrimp, how to cook the bacon properly, so I am just gonna go ahead and do the cream cheese with this. Those are nice and softened. We're gonna add our garlic and let that cook for just another minute. You know, in comparison, I feel like I have just as much garlic as I do shallot. Love it. I'm a huge fan of using shallot rather than onion. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love onions too. but we're only wanting the garlic to get a bit of fragrance in here and not have so much of a raw bite. The last time I made these, it was with a bechamel, because oftentimes it's like a dish like this size rather than these mini ones that I'm making. It's a dish of that size, and so you want something creamy, like almost like a pot pie kind of situation. But I wanted these to be like bite size. Just getting some seasonings. Unfortunate. I have no idea where my smoked paprika is. I'm going to use regular paprika, even though I don't think it has a super strong flavor. I've made it myself though. I had a friend that grew the paprika style peppers. So I'm going to turn off this heat completely. So it's going to be okay if the filling's a bit warm. It'll help this cream cheese just kind of meld in with everything. I'm going to add the paprika, even though I don't think it has a whole ton of flavor in here, but you know, red specks mean flavor. If it looks like there's flavor in it, it's gonna taste better. And then salt and pepper. Salt to taste. I will never, oh no, my pepper grinder is dead. So, I'm gonna have to charge that. Y'all, those things never need replacing. Like, I don't think I have had to charge that since I got them over 2 months ago. And I use pepper a lot. And it's a USB charger, which is great, because I have bought so many of those electric pepper grinder and like the salt and pepper grinders where it requires like 8 batteries, and I have no idea why it needs 8 batteries. So love the fact I have that one that's a USB charger situation. It's okay, mortar and pestle. They say that this is the best way to crush your spices anyway, just because with those electric grinders, or even with like the handheld grinders, it can generate some heat, which is going to diminish your spices a bit. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about the shrimp. How could we forget about the shrimp? And since I don't really have to cut anything more on this cutting board, I am just going to use the cutting board. And I save my shrimp tails. I'm going to put that in a baggie and stick it in my freezer. And once I'm able to fill up that baggie, then it makes a really good base for soup. Good little shrimp stock action. Also a really great use for in grits. If you're making like a shrimp and grits dish, I love shrimp and grits so much. That's one of my favorite things to cook. But using a little bit of shrimp stock rather than chicken or chicken stock or just water, huge fan. So, oh, this shrimp is just so perfectly cooked. So yes, definitely follow all those tips that I shared earlier on the perfect way to poach shrimp, because it's just so soft and juicy, and the salt water with a little bit of sugar brine absolutely helped out with that. So with shrimp, I can't remember what it is. Typically with any sort of leftovers, 4 days is the amount of time you're able to do that. I think with shrimp it would be 2 or 3, but you can always freeze the cooked shrimp as well. So 2 or 3, you'd have to Google that just to refer to. Okay, 4 days, it's probably not so great. Y'all, the shrimp is just so plump and juicy. Ah. This is definitely one of those things where it's a great way to make your shrimp, get a lot out of your shrimp. This and stuff in like mac and cheese and stuff where you're not really wanting to pay to give each guest like 6 shrimp. This 6 shrimp is going to go a long way in our filling. Oh, it's almost a shame I am chopping up all of this shrimp. But it's so juicy. I have to have another chef snack. It's just, perfect. Perfection. You get that little bit of garlic too from the aromatics that we put in there. If you missed me poaching the shrimp, I did a cold start, did some chicken stock, and it was cold water. I also threw in some parsley and what else did I throw in? Some parsley, and I did break open a garlic clove for in there as well. And you can definitely taste the aromatics in here. Oh, so good. If I was doing a larger batch, I probably would have cut an onion in half. But I'm not doing that. Oh, there we go. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So, shrimp is all chopped up. Ooh, I kind of lied about not that being the last thing I was cutting on my cutting board, but it's cooked shrimp. It's fine. I just want a little bit of parsley in here. So I'm going to roll up, because you know, you got to have the green specks to let people know that it's flavorful. I typically go with the Italian parsley because I feel like it has a bit more of a flavor than the curly parsley. Curly parsley, I call that garnish parsley. Not wanting any large chunks of this in with the stuff. Saving these for later. Who knows, I might even use the poaching liquid I did and just go ahead and make a stock so that way I could have a little shrimp soup action later. Yeah. So cream cheese, some paprika, salt, pepper. I sauteed a little bit of sweet pepper, some shallots, some garlic in here. The cream cheese is there. Oh, and oftentimes whenever I'm making any sort of creamy, anything like that, I also love to add just like a hint of mustard in there. Even if you're not really looking for, oh, I took Benjamin's advice and have like a little cup of spoons. So that way I can not only taste, but also have like a little scooper thing. But anyway, mustard or even a hot sauce or something, it's gonna cut a bit of that richness in there. So even with the fat, you're not gonna get a whole ton of the mustard flavor in there, but it really does help with the richness of it. The pan is still warm, so this cream cheese, let's get you a bit closer so you can see me attempt to mix all this stuff up. I wasn't sure if I was going to use one or both of my cream cheeses, but I think one will do because I want this to be a very, very oh yeah, this was room temperature cream cheese. Oh yeah, I could have made a bechamel for it, but I decided against it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, and add our parsley. Our scramps. course, our bacon bits from earlier, can't forget those. Oh yes, this is gonna be flavor overload. Gotta have chef snack. Whenever I'm doing crispy bacon or bacon bits like that, I also like to start with a cold pan and go very low and slow with it. That way I can release as much of the fat as possible. The lower and slower you cook your bacon, the more of the fat is going to release, and so that way you get a lot more crispiness. And also that's how you get more delicious bacon fat to use for the rest of your cooking. Alright, just going to go through here till it looks like the cream cheese is incorporated. Hot sauce would work really well in here too. Oh, you can get so creative with your fillings in this. Alright, here's what the filling looks like. Shut up! Whoever made that is a genius! It's me. Hi, I'm the genius. Y'all, you really don't get that much of the bacon or of much of the mustard flavor in there, but it really cuts out the richness of the cream cheese. You definitely get the shrimp, you get the bacon, that little bit of pepper and onion. Oh, delightful, delightful. So here are our little puff pastry cups. I'm just using a little knife to take out that center over here. I've even seen some chefs too where they just get it, rather than cutting that out, they'll just use their finger and just push it down. Because even though we did poke it with a fork before we baked it, it's still puffed up a little bit, not as much as the sides. But yes, I just used some regular frozen puff pastry from the store, used some cookie cutters, and then made a flat circle, and then did some more where it was the flat circle and then a smaller one, so to kind of make the little rim there. Y'all, listen to this, it's so satisfying. Oh, love it. Oh no. Okay. I might use my knife to cut that one out a bit because that was a bit too eggy. You know what? I'll keep the egginess. It just didn't have the satisfying crunch as the other ones did. I was also trying this trick too, where you just like use the circle, the smaller circle, to make like an indentation and poke holes in the center. And that worked out fairly well too, because that was a bit tedious. So I might just do that next time. Love it. Love this. This is so much fun, y'all. Ooh, still kind of soft on the inside there. I might actually have to use my knife to cut it. It's just so much more satisfying when it crunch. But it's just so freaking flaky on the inside. Before I baked these, you do have to make sure that you chill it. So that way you get all the puffiness from there. Because the dough's gotta be cold. Oh, this is so much fun. Okay, this one is definitely for the chef. Oh, that got the bit of the bottom on there. I think these may have baked better if I had the parchment paper underneath it. It's okay. What's one more dish to clean, am I right? So nice and flaky. I love puff pastry so much. So just buttery and flaky. Such a fan of that. So if you're just tuning in, this is what I'm making. A vol au vent. And it's essentially these puff pastry cups that I made. I used frozen puff pastry and kind of shaped them out to be on here. And then over here I have the shrimp and bacon filling. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I think the easiest thing for me to do is use, I don't have like a tip for this piping bag, it's just a piping bag. A Ziploc bag with the corner cut out is also super helpful, but the last time we bought Ziploc bags, we got the kind where it like is folded, so it's meant to be like a standing Ziploc bag, and so those do not work well at all for that piping bag method. But ah, yes. Oh man, look at that. And it's nice to that they are nice and rustic looking like that, so people know that you made them, because, you know, who would buy something who looked like this? Who weren't like the perfect little shells. Oh yeah. Maybe this wasn't the best idea, since some of the shrimp pieces are going to be a lot larger. Oh, there we go. That shrimp popped out. Oh, perfectly cooked shrimp. This is going to be the chef snack over here. And you know, I did keep a couple of bacon pieces. Oh, look at that. Look at that. This is my shrimp and bacon vol au vent, and this is the chef special here. But puff pastry cups that I made, this one definitely has seen better days, but some of these other ones are going to be fancier. Definitely a cute little thing to bring to a party that looks fancier than what it really is. Mm. Mm. I could eat that shrimp and bacon filling on anything. Mm. And that shrimp is just so buttery. Like, I have bought those Antarctic, it was like Venezuelan Antarctic shrimp, which is like the Venezuelan property of Antarctica. And they're these like really bright shrimp, and they're supposed to be buttery and almost lobster-like. And I've bought those before, but these just feel butterier than those. They really do. Mm. Just because of the way we cold poached them. Oh. So I'll probably at some point have an article on FoodtokTV to talk about the proper way to poach the shrimp. Oh, y'all. You definitely don't want to fill this until right before you're getting ready to serve this. So you can make these ahead of time and then make the filling and keep it separate, and just before you serve it, just pipe it in. Oh, you know, I'm in love. I would eat this filling on so much. Is that it? Oh, some of these other little puff things. Hey there. Oh. So good. You can also garnish with parsley or green onions or whatever, but I just love cream cheese stuff. You can cut this out with the paring knife, like that center part that's still rosy, even though we poked it with the fork, but it's just been satisfying to just squish it down. I think this is my last one, so I still have extra filling. It's okay. I'll just stick that in my fridge. And you know what? I do have some wonton wrappers in my fridge. I definitely think I want to make some of this into wontons. That sounds like a good idea. You can also serve these with the little hats from the thing on there so people know what they were. I feel like these definitely got a bit crispier than these guys. Look at how stinking cute that is. So what all is in this filling? There's bacon in here. I also poached shrimp the correct way, so it's like nice and buttery shrimp
sauteed some sweet onion and shallot, also sauteed some garlic. There's cream cheese, paprika, not necessarily for the flavor, but you know, for the red specks, you know, so it looks flavorful. I also added a little bit of whole grain mustard. I do that with anything that's sort of like creamy like this, just to offset some of that, you know, it kind of offsets some of that richness, even if, and you don't really taste that in here. So also bacon bits in here. So bacon bits, poached shrimp, some sweet pepper, shallot, garlic, cream cheese, parsley, a little bit of mustard, salt, pepper, paprika. There you go. And then some of these little hats, I just like poked the hole in there and did that. Oh, I'm so in love with this. And you know what? I had a good practice run of this, so before I bring these for the holidays, they're gonna actually look a bit better. And be like, oh, this whole thing? Psh. In reality, this should take you less than an hour to make these, you know, if you're focused and can organize your time. First of all, I can't really do that. And then second of all, I also spend a lot of time talking about like the technique of stuff. And if you already have cooked shrimp, that's gonna cut your time down even more. And you can do whatever filling. You can make like an spinach artichoke dip sort of situation and stick these in here. You can also go the sweet route and do like cream cheese and fruit or something. Oftentimes it's like a bechamel sauce that goes into this dish, but I didn't want to make a bechamel. I wanted the cream cheese. I love cream cheese filling stuff, but a bechamel would have been a great thing. But if you're making these for guests too, you can be like, I homemade the bechamel for my vol au vent. My vol au vent. You know, it makes you sound a bit snooty with it. And you know, if you're being impressive with a thing, why wouldn't you want to sound pretentious, right? I love the little mini ones. I think I like the mini ones the most. Oh, that's so stinking cute. And like the little mini ones were just the circles that we cut out from here, and I'm just poking for those flaky things and then filling that. Typically with this vol au vent, it's a larger dish. There's even some countries or like some cultures that will have this dish be like the size of a dinner plate, like a huge entree sort of thing. But when you're doing for the holidays, you don't want people to have to like need a fork and knife in order to eat the little appetizers, you know? Oh, so stinking cute. I may have to make this again so I can make content out of it, because this is so much fun to do. And I got to pull out all the techniques on here. I'm definitely gonna have to, oh no, there's too much shrimp in this one. Thank you for sharing the live. I appreciate y'all being here. Yay. Okay. There we go. And now I did kind of make a mess of everything, but that's okay. We're just gonna get a little bit cleaned up. Oh, and I still have some of this filling later. I think I'm gonna stuff into wontons and fry that. I'm excited about that. I think that would be really good. I've had wonton wrappers in my refrigerator trying to figure out what I was gonna make. And so I think that's gonna be what I do. Yay! Has anyone ever heard of the vol au vent before? I'm sure you've had it in some sort of way with the, because it's just puff pastry cups. And you can buy puff pastry cups already, you know, cupped for you, but you don't really get control of the size. I'm loving the little mini ones. Love it. Maybe I should have gone with the larger plate so I could fit all of these on here, but so delicious. and plus some more chef snacks. I hope my husband comes home from work soon, because you don't want to fill these until right before you're serving them, because it will make the puff pastry, you know, a little soggy. But if he's home soon, then he'll be able to enjoy some of that. Haven't heard of that? Oh, you have a Mama T, hello! So that's the vol au vent. Getting my lighting out, because when you are taking a photograph of food, proper lighting is definitely one of the things you want to focus on. So you definitely want to have really great lighting. You also want to make sure that you're showing the elevation of the food as well. So Cooking with Mama T is our newest Food Talk TV creator. Her first show is going to be on New Year's Day. So that's on a Wednesday. She'll be on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Central for down home comfort. Not using that. And of course, you want to make sure your background is clear when you're taking photos as well. For me, sometimes just having this large cutting board really helps. So that way you're not catching the other stuff in the background. Y'all, I didn't have running water in my house for days, so my dishes are so backed up. So I definitely don't want the photo to reflect that. Go. Put a little bit of the bacon for the shrimp and bacon vol au vent. The sweet pepper and shallot was sauteed in some of that bacon grease on here. And when I cooked the bacon, because I wanted it to be crispy, I started with a cold pan, low and slow, to render out as much of that fat as I could. I should have done these before I put them on the plate, so it's not so messy. But oh, that's awesome. I hope if y'all watched any of my show, you learned some stuff, because typically I'm on Saturdays at 10:30 a.m. Central, and I'm with my husband and we do our show that's the tailgate. So a lot of it is just like smoking and grilling outdoors, but really my passion when it comes to food is like the weird like food science of it all. The shrimp I poached, also did a cold start with that, just like what I did with my bacon. Cold start with aromatics after I did a wet brine with it. About 15-minute wet brine with a heavily salted little bit of sugar water. That makes the shrimp plump up, and the flavor of the shrimp is going to be more complex with the sugar. I did a cold start on there. A lot of recipes when you're poaching shrimp is going to tell you to go ahead and have the water simmering. No, we want the water to be cold when you start. I actually did chicken stock and some aromatics with that as well. But once the water hits 140 degrees, that's when the shrimp is cooked perfectly, and this poached shrimp is just so flavorful. I was really impressed with how buttery and plump it was. Okay, so let's get our picture started, because I'm going to be writing out this recipe. There we go. There we go. I will be writing out this recipe. Yo, Mr. Crown Royal, welcome in. That's another one of our creators that's on Fridays at 6:30 p.m. Central. On a show with his wife, Grill and Chill. You learn so much about poaching shrimp. I'm so glad. As long as one person learned what the heck I was doing, I love it. Thank you so much. And then 1967, thank you so much for the rose. My name is Taylor Rose, so I do love the roses as a gift. So, we're going to make sure our lenses are clean. We are very well lit, and we are also not getting any of the stuff in the background. We do not want that. We're going to make sure our food has elevation. Ooh. also not a fan of like the food filter. Okay, I'm gonna have to back away some. So when you're using your phone, and instead of zooming in, don't use the zoom in feature on it. Just instead know that you are going to taking too much on the outside. Like here, I took too much on the outside, right? I'm gonna need to crop that. It's much better to crop it than it is to like use your phone feature to zoom in. So let's crop it real good. There's too much negative space. I need another one. There we go. So yeah, in case you want to take your photos like a pro, just listen to those tips. I'm going to clear some more stuff out. You want to be well lit on all sides, so you definitely want to have a light over there and a light back here. We're trying to eliminate shadows, which I'm still getting anyway. If you're taking pictures during the day, then the best way to go about that, oh, that's not too shabby. Here we go. Not too shabby. If you're taking pictures during the day, just go ahead and take those outside. So I'm going to be writing the recipe for these. This was my shrimp and bacon vol au vent. Okay, we can get rid of this light over here now. This is the shrimp and bacon vol au vent. You can definitely just buy the shells or whatever, but it's much more cost effective to use frozen puff pastry. Get some cookie cutters like I did myself. You can even do like shapes of cookie cutters, but I loved these because I was able to get little bite-sized pieces of it. There's shrimp, poached shrimp, there's bacon, cream cheese, parsley, salt, pepper, paprika, and a little bit of mustard to kind of offset that. So shrimp and bacon vol au vent. If you are giving us a follow on FoodtokTV, as soon as I get this recipe posted on FoodtokTV.com, which is where we do post our recipes that we do for all of our lives. So feel free to check that out. But if you're following us, please be sure you are, so that way you can see in our stories when I have this recipe up posted. JDP, what's up? Thank you for the chilies. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I just got done photographing this as well, which, come on, which I thought it was okay to have the little parsley and green onions in there. Just anybody, thank you so much for all the 50 chilies. I appreciate y'all. This has been so much fun to do. Does anybody have any questions for me before I go? I felt like all I've done is throw information at you. I can also do an article later about poaching the shrimp and post that to FoodtokTV just so it's like written down on there. But y'all, this shrimp that I poached, it was some of the best shrimp I've ever had. I've done a dry brine before, but I did a wet brine with this shrimp, and it was just so buttery and perfect. Absolutely huge fan of it. I highly recommend it. Alrighty, and y'all, JDP goes live on his own page as well all the time, so be sure you're giving him a follow as well. I will go ahead and end this by, hold on, I'm going to say hey. There I am. If you want to give me a follow, I do some cooking content, but a lot of my content is definitely more mustard related, and I do a lot of like cocktail related things as well. I'm going to eat this filling by the spoon, by the way, y'all. This is some of my best cream cheese filling I've done. But yes, I'm super excited too because I had Coleman's Mustard sent me a DM today. Coleman's Mustard sent me a DM and told me like, hey, can we make your mustard dreams come true? And I'm like, yeah. Hooch fan of Coleman's Mustard. I always get giddy when another mustard company reaches out and wants to send me stuff. Y'all, I am so obsessed with this filling. I definitely need to write this down before I forget the recipe. But the red sweet pepper, shallot, garlic, sauteed in that bacon fat. Also some bacon bits, some of the poached shrimp, cream cheese, salt, pepper, paprika, a little bit of mustard to offset that richness, which it does help to have that like little bit of acidity in here. Oh, So freaking good. Hey, Miss Turtle, what's up? So yes, this is the name of the dish that I just made. Vol au vent. Vol au vent. French for flight of the wind. Yes, thank y'all so much for joining me today. I had a lot of fun with y'all today. Be sure you tune in tomorrow at noon, 12 p.m. Central. It's going to be Cooking with Fatherpreneur on our show, Chopping It Up with Father. And then at 7 p.m. Central, we have Trini, and she's going to be doing her show, Spoonful of Simple. Thank y'all so much for joining me today. I appreciate y'all being here. Happy mustarding, y'all.